Wait, what do you mean? Again, 3, 4, 1.
I know.
What's going on? What time is it?
I don't know. I thought we were supposed to start, and yet again we're missing somebody. So I don't really know.
Is Anka in one of the meetings again?
Yeah, one of your men.
Hey, Anka, where have you been?
Shopping.
Shopping? What do you mean?
Well, this is the last day and last opportunity really to go shopping.
That's true. Last day.
I don't think people at home know this, but like the whole exhibition floor and the one beneath us, it's like, you know, all these publishers bought books and trinkets. Even the Brighton Conference Center has its own store where you can get all these Brighton souvenirs. And of course, the IATEFL shop.
Yes, where you can find our absolutely incredible teddy. We haven't given a name to our teddy, have we? So from one of our interviewees has just said, Laura, maybe, yeah. But for the people watching us from home, give us your suggestions. What should we name our teddy? What do you think? Any suggestions?
Well, here, Sean will shout them out loud when
yeah, if anyone suggests anything, I know. Yeah, but
honestly, like IATEFL is a charity, so if you're going to spend your money in any store, really, it should be the IATEFL.
Do you know, and I totally support that. I think this is a great thing. Yeah, but Anka, you know that we start at 11.
I know, but I got you something. This is what I always do. It's like buy off your
right.
just enjoy your time,
we
go
can
shopping.
You now. I don't know, Anka.
I don't know.
It depends.
You haven't seen what I got you yet. I got you the best IATEFL merch of this year. And we have good merch because we've got pins and keychains and obviously the lanyards we all wear are sponsored. Yes. But the bags do have the IATEFL logo.
Yes.
But I got you the best thing the store had.
Okay, let's have a look. Let's see. I'm scared. All right. Oh, incredible! Oh, yes!
Oh,
definitely. Oh, look at that!
Because this is the last show.
it is the last show.
Forever, we will be Team Sean.
Sorry, I just want to see Sean's reaction.
I think it's.
Oh, I think he's laughing.
We will forever be Team Sean.
Exactly.
Can you imagine how hard it is to surprise someone who runs such a tight ship? It's like everything we thought of in terms of videos, everything we thought we could do during the show, he'd know.
Yes.
But we might have some extras planned, Sean. So there's more. You know us. There's always more. There's always extra.
Brilliant. So it's the last show.
It is the last show. It's the last hour. I'm everything. I'm sad that it's kind of coming to an end, but I'm tired, so I'm quite relieved.
But honestly, I think everybody is.
Yeah.
Like even the delegates, like everybody sparkles on a conference like this, and it's about meeting friends. But then at the end of the week, you know, all the nights in the pub and all the friends and all the conferences.
Take its toll.
We have really long days. I mean, we start before the plenary 8:30 with the first sessions, and then we go on until 6 every day. I mean, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
But it's worth it.
Oh, for sure. I was going to say
it
is definitely worth it. It is 1 week in the year where you feel this way because you want to feel this way. You want to be tired. It's the good kind of tired, really, because you go to so many sessions, you socialize and you network and you learn more about the industry. So it is that 1 week during the year when you just say, yes, I will be tired. And as one of the plenary sessions said, and I'm worth it.
Absolutely. Exactly. So what have we got today in our final hour?
So this show is only 1 hour. I don't know how we're going to fit everything in.
It's a lot.
But still, we have got some wonderful interviews with some amazing people. And our first guests are waiting behind the scenes. Yes. So we are going to go to our first video of the day, and then we're coming back with our first guest. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the IATEFL conference. Last day. I can't believe it. I'm not ready to believe it. So, Georgia asked me to share with the world my favorite moment from this conference. And I would have to say it was Serena Zapan's plenary session because it stirred up emotions, it made me think, and I think that's what we need from an IATEFL plenary, going further away from how we teach present perfect or how we should teach vocabulary into the core of the values that we need to instill to our students. So one thing that I have to say before I wrap up, Edinburgh 2025 people, start booking flights. IATEFL.
Hi, I'm John Wallen from EF Teach Online. What I've most enjoyed about IATEFL 2024 in Brighton is getting to see some of the big names that I've known about in the academic world for quite a few years. So I got to see Penny Ur speak, that was amazing, Adrian Underhill, and also Evan Frendo. These were probably my highlights from IATEFL 2024, and I'll see you next year in Edinburgh.
This has been a fantastic IATEFL as always. I've been following a lot of AI, so that's a thread for me. And I would say the absolute apex of that was the ELTJ debate yesterday, where we had the obviously two positions. It was fascinating and really, really interesting. Thank you, IATEFL.
Everybody, and I'm joined by our first guests this morning. We have Laura Patsko and Joe Soki. Welcome.
Thanks, Nikki.
Hi.
It's lovely to have you here. How's your conference been so far?
Amazing and tiring, as you said
that
it.
kind of exhaustion. Yeah, it's been really, really good.
Yeah.
Really fun. Really nice atmosphere.
Meeting up lots of people. That's the best part of conferences. So
Yeah.
definitely.
Absolutely, and it's gone so fast.
Yes.
It's flown by.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
It's
only
incredible.
arrived on Wednesday, so
I've
for
been
people
here
who
since
arrived on
Monday.
Monday,
Yeah.
I'm amazing.
Yeah. I came on Monday.
Still
but
standing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you're not standing. Still awake.
still awake. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a great thing. Okay, and so just in case people don't know, can I just ask you to introduce yourselves, your context, what you do?
Sure. Hi, I'm Joe Soki, and I'm a freelance teacher trainer, and I also work at a university in Hungary. So I'm an external lecturer there, and I teach ELT methodology. I do teacher training workshops, webinars, write blog posts, and I also teach English as a foreign language just to have that experience as well.
Lovely, thank you. And Laura?
I'm Laura Patsko. I'm a learning experience designer. Like Joe, I do a lot of different things. I'm interested in a lot of areas, teacher training, applying research to practice, attending events like this one and getting to know the wider industry. What else do you want to know? That's it in a nutshell.
That's it. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And yesterday I had the pleasure of going to see you guys giving your talk or the debate. It was fantastic. So this is something that's actually going to be online quite soon, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a debate, obviously, about AI, because that's been, I suppose, the topic of the conference, really.
Yeah.
And it was whether AI was useful for personalization and inclusion for students.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us something about that? How it went for you? What you did?
We were super convincing, I think. We did a
We
good
were
job.
exceptionally persuasive of our respective positions.
We both won, obviously,
Yeah.
because it's not a black and white thing.
Yeah.
So it's really a gray area, lots of advantages, but also lots of drawbacks.
Yeah.
So we need to just be responsible, conscious of all the dangers as well as the positive side. And
Yeah.
that's why it was such a good debate.
And that's the pleasure, I think, of the debate format, is that it's obviously a little bit of an artificial simplification. You know, I take one very extreme side, Joe takes the other very extreme side, even though in reality, it's a more complex picture and we're both more balanced. But it's quite a good intellectual challenge to force yourself to see how far to go in kind of one direction of opinion or the other. And then the audience as well, their involvement is really important because we have 15 minutes each.
but then they have time to comment, to question, to challenge our points.
And they brought up so many good questions.
They really
actually.
did.
Yeah. And they touched on points that were so integral to the debate.
Yeah, and things that we couldn't possibly cover in our 15 minutes. You know, we only had 15 minutes, so we were very aware there's going to be some things that are very important that we can't go into detail.
Yes.
But then that's where the audience comes in, and then also reminds us of things that, you know, some things get mentioned more often, like what they kept. A lot of people picked up on the digital divide. That was just one of many points we made, and it was interesting how many people followed that up. So it's a good way to see what really matters to the hive mind of the conference.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just to kind of back up a little bit in case anyone's not familiar with the format, it was this is the ELT Journal, which is produced by Oxford University Press, and every year there's a debate, and you have someone in favour and someone against the motion, which was AI and its personalization and inclusion abilities. And then we listened to each speaker, and I thought you did incredibly well. They're laughing, but I have to say, you'd really done your homework, and you presented it so slickly and so like, yeah. Well, you did, in favour and against the use of AI.
We really hate.
Oh yeah.
that one again.
But yeah, and then so you presented your arguments, and I think, I mean, the end result was a tie, wasn't it? Because yeah, people did not know which way to go because everything that you said rang true. But okay, so just for anyone watching, can you remember yesterday and the points that you? I know in IATEFL world it is. But yeah, just a few of the points that you made in favour and against the use, because it was really well done.
So a few points I made in favor. That's a tough ask.
Well, the motion the motion was AI can make language learning more personalized and inclusive for all learners.
So my main points were that AI, of course, it can help with lesson planning and task material design, but it can offer differentiation options. So it can, if you generate a lesson plan, some of the chatbots automatically provide differentiation ideas, or you can specifically ask for those differentiation ideas. Another point was that it helps learners build their own learning path and take charge of their own learning, becoming more self-directed and more autonomous if they ask the right questions, of course. The third one was that I can't actually remember. That was such a long time ago. But never mind. I think I honestly, I don't know what I said.
Oh, I'm not responsible for your, but I just remember.
Yeah. Let me check. But then Laura,
you talked about my goodness.
I know, and I was there
I can't.
too, and
it's
I'm like,
Friday. I can't.
It's oh yeah, of course, yes. That we need to boost our students' critical thinking,
literacy. Oh my goodness,
and
yes,
basically my
yes.
idea was that we actually have to be thankful for AI for highlighting the importance of critical thinking.
Yes.
It just made it even more obvious that we need to always compare and contrast sources, and we shouldn't trust what we see. And my last point.
Oh, that was a really good point you made, though, as well, is that the ability to spread disinformation.
Oh,
and
yeah.
misinformation is actually a very uniquely human
definitely.
ability. And so, you drew attention to the fact that
we've been doing it forever.
Before AI, yeah.
Oh, definitely. Like there have been so many fake news stories, misinformation, bias spread around, and we don't really need AI for that. Inclusivity and personalization, of course, the main part of the debate. So I mentioned lots of tools that we already have built in our phones, computers that people with visual impairments or other physical disabilities could use. For example, people with dyslexia, and they can already make use of that to make learning more accessible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you, Jo. And the arguments against
on the other side.
Yeah.
So I was taking a point of view. I thought it was important at this conference, which is a teachers' conference primarily, and we're talking a lot about teaching and learning and what teachers do and what learners do. But a lot of what's happening with AI at the moment is actually happening behind the scenes at the publishers and the resource providers and how they're using AI. And I think a lot of teachers don't know what they're doing or what they're considering. So I was looking at whether first of all, whether language itself is actually really amenable as a subject matter to the kind of granular breakdown that is needed for generative AI to make content like texts to be read or exercises to be answered. And then this idea that AI can sort of give the learner feedback and personalize their learning path is a bit of a fantasy. It sounds possible, it sounds great, but it's quite hard to do with something like language knowledge, which is not as easy to break down into little units. And I also looked at the issue of whether the current language models that are being used by a lot of AI engines are informed by what learners do and what kind of how proficiency develops in a second language. So they've scraped a lot of data from the internet written in primarily English, but we don't really know much about who even produced those texts, which humans produced those. So how can machines give a learner appropriate guidance when it's hard enough to do for human teachers? But then, okay, this is another trap that we might fall into, is trying to make artificial intelligence do the same things as human intelligence, which we didn't talk about yesterday. Yeah. And in terms of inclusion, one of the issues is that the reason a lot of publishers and resource providers are looking at AI is to create content at scale. But looking at scale, kind of targeting what most people need most of the time, is actually one of the ways that we exclude and get into cycles of exclusion.
I love that point.
And then finally, thank you. And then finally, I talked a bit about the digital divide and about how some of the risks with the amount of generation and also just experimentation we're doing with AI has some environmental impact that don't get talked about a lot. And in the context of inclusivity, the impact on the climate of some of our practices with technology, not just AI, disproportionately affect communities that are already vulnerable or marginalized, such as developing countries. And there's also arguably a very human cost of the people who are paid to sift through toxic content. And like happens in many industries, the people who are hired to do this are hired in places where it's cheaper to pay them. And some of the work they're doing is very traumatizing. So there are lots of things that are part of the whole system of this new field of inquiry and play that are actually contributing to bigger systemic problems that go far beyond what a learner sees when they open an app and try and do a language
Absolutely.
exercise.
We just see the surface, don't we? But we don't see what's actually happening underneath it.
Right.
And regarding the digital divide, it was very interesting. One of the audience members brought this up, that we might think that, okay, some countries or some nations don't have access to laptops. However, they have access to mobile phones, and they kind of jumped they jumped across a stage in technological development. So they skipped laptops and they jumped to smartphones. And that's another kind of digital difference that we have, that they will start using apps first and not websites. Which, like, a lot of AI tools are based on websites.
Right. And again, that just serves to highlight how interconnected so many of these issues we talk about are. It's one thing to say, at this year's IATEFL conference, AI is the big topic. And it is. And it's also related to many other big topics, like the progression of technology in different contexts, like the ethics of working with certain communities, like sustainability, whose language is correct. There's so many connected issues. So I think the debate was a really nice place to just select a few of those and highlight how extreme they can be, and also give space for people to explore some of the connected issues, which they did in the audience section of the debate.
And so people were bringing up the digital divide from the audience. Were there what kind of pros or pluses were people mentioning, if they were?
Well, one point that somebody mentioned was about mobile phones. You just reminded me, was talking about how, we talk about the digital divide, but actually access is widening because so many people in some contexts have not just a mobile phone, but a smartphone.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about statistics of smartphone penetration, particularly in places like Indonesia, Mexico, Nigeria, thank you. And the issue there, and again, coming back to the kind of intersectionality of issues, is that yes, somebody might have a mobile device, but they might be using it in a context where during the rainy season, their data is completely unusable. And so again, the digital divide itself is not even a simple cut of those who have and those who have not. because some of the access is temporary or circumstantial or lack of access.
Yeah.
And so that was one point that somebody made, which I
Yeah.
thought was the really, like, to raise the issue of who has and who hasn't isn't even, that is not a simple issue.
Yeah, so it's incredibly complex. Yeah.
And what else was there about the digital divide that people mentioned?
I don't actually remember particularly positives. However, the copyright issue was brought up.
Yes.
Which was
Ah,
absolutely important.
so like in terms of like plagiarism and things like that as
Yeah,
well.
and also data protection.
There was-
Data protection and
yeah.
copyright. Like for example, the data that AI is using, is it stealing from all the people that wrote those materials on the internet? Is it
Yeah.
is it theft? Is it not?
Yeah.
Also, what about our data that we provide these websites? What's
Mhm.
happening to those?
Yeah.
Different legal.
Do we even know? Like how
Yeah.
much is happening in the so-called black box?
Yes.
You know, you type something into a machine and it goes into the machine and supposedly the
Yes.
machine does wonderful things with it. But I mean, how many of us, when we tick a box saying, yes, I've read all the terms
Oh,
and
sure.
conditions, how many of us have
Sure.
read it? So
Yeah.
as much as we like to think things should be done transparently and legislation is emerging and so on.
Yeah, for
there's
example,
still a
there's
lot
the
of question
EU
marks.
AI Act, which
Yes,
is
which you mentioned.
supposed to protect data. I'm not really sure how much it actually does. I don't
Yeah,
don't
is it
know the
enforced?
details.
Is it,
Yeah, like, does
is it
it-
understood?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
Um,
was a really, and the point as well about so there's the copyright, you mentioned plagiarism. So we actually didn't talk a lot about that, did we? In the conference in general, it's been raised a lot.
yeah, because it
whether
was
students cheat
our
or
topic
whether
was
they
narrowed
use-
down. So
Right. But one of the audience members did bring up not plagiarism, but copyright of the materials writers, content creators, people who write course books, for example. You know, has this all been funneled into an AI engine and used to recreate new exercises? Do we know? Is that fair? Is the original creator paid for the use of the content? Are they still a creator if the content has been reworked and repurposed? You know, there's such a web of
Yeah.
issues that somebody mentioned in the audience.
And my response to that was that what about corpora? However, I during or in the LinkedIn comments, Julie Moore, the audience member who asked this question, posted her post, which she wrote about corpora versus AI funnel like text. And the point is that corpora ask for they ask for permission to include all like millions of words, but AI didn't ask for permission.
And this is the thing, I think they get away with it with things that are like sort of in the public domain. So, okay, well, you know, you've put it out there, but that's not even a clear-cut concept. And one thing that somebody mentioned the other day, I think before the debate, that when we were talking about it, because they weren't able to attend, and fortunately there is a recording and it will be available at some point, is they talked about the fact that so much of not just the development of AI, but even its origins is fundamentally commercial in nature. And so a lot of the interest, and I mean interest not just in the sort of intellectual sense, but the vested financial interest, is driven by organizations who want to commercialize or monetize or somehow benefit from the use of AI in certain contexts, and that includes education.
Yeah.
Whereas corpora, generally speaking, are data sets for people to study and learn, and there's no expectation they'll make a fortune from its existence.
And that also is connected to the digital divide. The fact that some teachers can only use the free version of these AI tools. Some teachers decide to subscribe, but maybe, okay, they have the ability to decide that I want to subscribe. Some teachers will never have that ability. And that already creates differences.
Differences of access
and the
financial
quality of
differences,
materials they can produce, the quality of lessons they can teach.
It's a super complicated, super interesting subject area.
It's a whole can of worms that's been opened. Everything's developing so fast, and so thinking about the ethical considerations is going to take time.
And I think the ethical considerations, to me, that's a really important point, because new technologies emerge throughout human history. I mean, first it was a pencil, and you know, now it's AI, but ethics are timeless. Responsibility to social justice, to fairness of the other humans in our world, and not just the humans, but all life on our planet, that doesn't go out of, that's not a trend. So there's always space for that conversation.
However, I get that they are trying, and it's so interesting that when you have an invention and you're trying to develop things and technology improve the world, you're thinking in your little bubble that, okay, I have this invention, AI, and it's going to revolutionize the world, and you're just thinking about how you can make that invention better. And you don't realize the impact it has on everything else. And of
Yeah.
course, we're talking about all these implications, but I'm pretty sure those who developed AI didn't even think that these would be questions.
Yeah, there are always things too. I mean, in
Yeah.
100 years or 10, we'll look back and see things that we can't see now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really important to keep these conversations going.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think for me, the takeaway was think critically about it. That's all. There are pros and cons there. And I thought you girls did absolutely fantastically. Very, very well done.
Thanks, Nikki. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Well, yeah, well, thank you for all the work that you put into it. And yeah,
Love your
again,
hat.
Oh, yeah.
we all love the hat.
Looking good.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, just a reminder, if you would like to see the debate, it will be on Oxford University Press's website very soon. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy your
Thank
last
you.
day.
You too.
Thank you.
Enjoy the
Thank
last few
you.
hours of the conference.
Yes, yeah.
Ready to revolutionize your ELT courses? Introducing ITN Education's captivating videos, the key to transforming English language learning. With our expertly crafted content, we'll accelerate language acquisition like never before. Whether in class or online, our custom-built videos support your learning objectives. Discover ITN Education at IATEFL and elevate your ELT courses today. ITN Education, where learning comes to life.
Because it was the signing ceremony, and IATEFL and the 21st Century from China signed a memorandum of understanding, and this actually establishes new cooperation with such an important organization from China. And we're all very much looking forward to working with them on expanding the ELT community in China and bringing IATEFL closer to teachers of English in China. Such an important moment for everyone here at IATEFL and the Board of Trustees. We are all very excited about this new cooperation with the 21st Century China. I hope that this memorandum of understanding will open doors to future collaboration and exchange of knowledge and experience of the ELT. Our ELT community might seem to be very big, but it's actually quite small in terms of cooperation, because we always find ways to work with each other.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I feel so honored and glad to be here with the company of old friends and some new friends to witness the official signing of the MOU between 21st Century and IATEFL. I told Alex and John just now, this is my second time to be part of the IATEFL conference. The first time was back in 2005 in Edinburgh. It's a long time ago. To be frank, I was quite impressed by the whole conference during the last two to 3 days. I went to some of the presentations and talked to the exhibitors and teachers from all over the world. I was so impressed by the quality and interaction between the teachers. So congratulations to the IATEFL leadership. We at 21st Century, we are a leading media and education provider in China. Founded in 1993, 21st Century English Education has now become, I would say, the best and the biggest provider of its kind in the country. We publish English language newspapers for students. We are very proud to enjoy a readership of 3 million every week all around China. And we also, wow, yes, we also do teacher professional training for teachers, for English teachers.
So this will be a great opportunity for IATEFL to expand and to gain more members, English language teachers from China. But also this will be a great professional development opportunity for teachers in China, because part of our memorandum of understanding is providing professional development for teachers of English in China. There will also be exchanges of publications, and we will definitely work together on bringing more teachers from China to the annual conference in Edinburgh in 2025. And we are very much looking forward to working with teachers of English from China and the 21st century, because that is one of our aims. We support, we link, and we develop English language teachers from around the world.
And we're back. And I'm here with Neil. Neil, for the people who don't know you, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, Anka. My name's Neil McCutcheon. I'm a teacher trainer, an ELT author, and I've got my own teacher training business called ELTeach.
Business owner, book author, teacher trainer, former teacher. Again, we have so many impressive people on this show. I'm just humbled. You had a talk really early on in during the week, and it was called "You Have Heard of TBLT." Now, I have to make a confession. Like, we love our abbreviations. You must have noticed that. It's like even the program has an explanation of the extra abbreviations. What is TBLT?
TBLT is task-based language teaching, also called task-based learning, which I think is a better acronym or initialism, because I think it's mostly about the learning. And TBLT actually isn't language teaching. It's getting students to do things in English with the language as a kind of supporting focus. So I think we should go back to TBL. And in our book, we called it TBL in honor of Jane and Dave Willis, who wrote the original, I guess, the thing that really broke TBL into our sort of context in the 90s.
Now, I have heard of task-based learning. I think every teacher has. Now, why should we do it?
Well, I'm not evangelical about it. So I've been called a pragmatist in the past.
Oh, that's good. That's a compliment.
But I should say both me and Neil Anderson, who co-wrote the book with me. So I just think with task-based learning, communication is front and central to every lesson. So if you take communicative language teaching seriously, I mean, if that's your business, if that's your thing, then I think it's worthwhile trying out task-based learning, which is a different kind of syllabus. It takes a different approach to language, and it probably involves straying a little bit more from your course book materials, although you can exploit the course books. Course books tend to be full of great tasks.
They are small tasks. But how is that different from task-based learning instead of tasks from a course book?
Task-based learning is fluency first, so prioritizing fluency rather than accuracy, a bit like Scott Thornbury was saying in his talk, actually. So in this way, it's similar to things like dogme or communicative language teaching, any of those kind of conversation-driven methodologies. So with task-based learning, what you would do is, well, those fun, freer practice activities at the end of units that students really love and you really love doing as a teacher, because all you have to do is float around and monitor and react to the students' language.
I love those.
And everybody's so relaxed. Well, guess what? That's really good for language learning. because everybody's in their flow state. Everybody's, optimally challenged. They're having fun. And as we know, the only way that languages are sort of deeply acquired, it's through exposure. It's through having to encode your message, meaningful use, and getting that lovely reactive feedback from the teacher, not on the structure of the day, but on any features of the language that, at the point of need. So it's very, very student-centered. And if anyone wants to try it for the first time, what I tell teachers to do is just task, teach, task. So take the freer practice.
Yeah.
And basically, do what pre-teaching you need to do what orientation you need to do, and then throw the students kind of in at the deep end. So they're effectively doing this with less linguistic scaffolding or linguistic fettering. And then the language focus comes in later. So rather than leaving that wonderful freer practice till late, it becomes the centerpiece of the lesson.
Okay, so let me rephrase this so I get this right. What you're saying is actually, if I love food, so we have a food metaphor. Normally, the task-based learning is the dessert. It's like you have all the weeks that I teach and I work hard to teach. My students work hard on all these sort of snippets and the scaffolding that we've created, and then there's a task at the end. And you're right, those are the best classes because they do love it, and I love it because, like you said, I can just walk around a bit and don't have to prepare as much. I can finally catch my breath before all the exams come in and the unit tests. And you're saying move that up, so make task-based learning the main course instead of the desserts.
It would be a bit like having the dessert first.
Oh, I like that even more. So you go to a restaurant, you look at the desserts menu, and you go like,
Yeah,
because
because I'm a CELTA trainer, so very often in lessons, there's a very short time frame for CELTA style lessons. So very often people have planned this wonderful freer practice, and they spend ages and ages, getting there and meaning, form, pronunciation, and getting through the grammar thicket. Oh, we're out the grammar thicket. Okay, so now it's time for the gap fill. Let's go through, the gap fill jungle. And then by the time they get to the end, there's just sort of 5 minutes left for this beautiful task. And with the stronger trainees, I think, bring the task forward. Make that the center of the lesson.
Yeah.
That other stuff, it's important. It has a role, but it's not the most important part.
But I love that. So it's what I should have done last night. Like, get the dessert first and then start eating, because I usually don't have room for dessert anymore.
That's what my grandmother did. She didn't bother ordering a main course.
She never did main courses.
She just skipped straight to the dessert.
I love that. That is wisdom that I think we can only get from grandparents, really, and parents. Okay, so dessert first. But can we do dessert first? Like you said, there is some scaffolding that we do need to do.
Yes, I mean, so there's always scaffolding. I think you might want to pre-teach essential vocab. Looking at text beforehand. So very often tasks come off the back of texts, which is very much like just your usual kind of integrated skills lessons.
Yeah,
they are task-based lessons in a way, if you were to look at it broadly. I mean, it's any lesson where the students are expressing their own meanings.
Yeah.
Their own meanings, rather than regurgitating stuff that you've fed to them. And like Steve Oakes said, he's you might know him as the author of Speak Out, and he's retiring this month.
Oh.
Hi, Steve. But his motto was always, teach students what they want to say, or help them to say what they want to say in English. And it's really simple, rather than, spit out yet another sentence using the present perfect, So it's starting with the student's own meanings rather than with the teacher's language agenda. And I think a lot of lessons are I think EAP lessons are like that. I think ESP lessons are very often like that.
Yeah.
So it's quite, widespread in the field.
But you make it sound really simple and easy, and I love that, because I think task-based learning, there's challenging things. You can make everything yourself, but this is something everybody can do. Like, if you're teaching, just play around with it. Like, pay attention throughout the chapter, see what students like, how they respond, and then see if they do respond better to the tasks, sort of, and which tasks, just expand that and
and do
get
them
the
again.
desserts.
Yeah, and you can do the same task again. So you can have your dessert, then your language focus, then a little bit more dessert.
I
you know,
love that. Just
so-
start with dessert, then have a starter, and then dessert again.
Yeah,
Just
I mean, it's great for
skip
CELTA.
the whole main.
Yeah, and it's great for CELTA trainees because they get quite afraid of the grammar part.
Yeah.
So I encourage them to do task, teach task. If they're not very good at reacting to students' language spontaneously, because that's the tricky bit,
Yeah.
then they can use the clarification from the book, the one that they've already planned. That's fine. Use that one. Just move it around and to place it differently in the lesson. But you don't expect beginner teachers to be able to riff with all the students' language needs.
No.
They're maybe not at that stage yet.
Well, thank you for making it sound so easy and something that we all can do. And people who have experience with this and are a bit more experienced, you have a book. And I think you you wrote it with another Neil.
I must mention Neil because it was a 50-50 collaborative effort, and he doesn't really like doing conferences. But he was major input into the book, and we're great friends, and it's called Activities for Task-Based Learning. So it has about 40 tasks with texts, unscripted text to go with them, and audio texts, people doing the task very often.
Oh wow! So it's almost ready-made, like
Yes, and-
easy to adjust, but it's a gift basically.
Yes, and with suggested language focus as well. So grammar, vocabulary, functional language, pronunciation.
Can you say the title one more
Yes,
time?
Activities for Task-Based Learning, and that's Delta Publishing. And there will be another book, hopefully, a couple of years down the line.
Okay. So Activities for Task-Based Learning by Neil and Neil. I love that. And then there's another one coming. So if you really like it, just wait, and there might be a
There'll be
sequel.
some kind of follow-up.
Thank you. And thank you for talking about language, because we sometimes forget we focus so much at IATEFL on all the teams, and especially AI being a big team this year. But the conference also has so many interesting talks and interesting sessions on language, because that's our core business. And
And it's great to have some nice, some of the sessions on methodology this year were just, I love to go to a good methodology session, like Paul Seligson was great.
oh yeah, methodology, grammar. I mean, this is our core business. So thank you for talking about that, and thank you for being in the show.
Thank you, Anka. My pleasure.
Hello, I'm Charlotte. I'm from China. IATEFL helps me to meet so many fabulous people from all around the world.
Hello, my name is Hardeep. I am from Punjab, India, and this is my first time to be at the IATEFL. So this is the life-changing experience for me. So this is very good. The best thing I found here that I met many people who are from the different countries. So this is the very good experience for me. So I really wish to join the next conferences.
Good morning. My name is Thanh Tú Lê. So I'm from Vietnam. So this is my first time to join IATEFL 2024. So I'm so ready and look forward to all events today.
Hi everyone, I'm Julie Stijo from Brazil, and what I most liked this year was the variety of topics and the updates on every single different area and topic in education.
I'm Renata, also from Brazil. It's my first time here. I really enjoyed everything so far, but I really liked watching their talk about feedback.
Hi, I'm Marcela Sintra, also from Brazil / Canada. And what I really liked was the reconnection with old friends, old peers, and meeting new ones. I'm
Hi, my name is Esther. I'm from the Netherlands, Advanced University of Applied Sciences. I love being here at the conference. Great talks, especially the ones about social emotional skills in classroom and interaction with students was lovely. And all the international contacts we had, making new acquaintances and learning from different countries was absolutely superb.
Hello, my name's Alistair Douglas. I'm from Anglia Ruskin University in Cambridge. My memories from the conference, well, it's as ever been hugely stimulating. There's not been a talk I've been to that hasn't actually had me coming away with a few ideas and some thoughts. So as ever, just another really refreshing way of connecting with different people and seeing different things.
Well, hello, my name is Yvonne van der Koevering. I'm from the Netherlands, Advanced University of Applied Sciences, and my favorite activity here was the storytelling events, because it's something I can immediately use with my students who teach for primary schools.
We are back with one of the final interviews for this IATEFL conference. Conference live show, yes. So I'm sorry. I have got with me Mike Riley, who has done a fantastic and very interesting talk this year. Hello,
you.
Mike. Welcome
Hi.
to our show.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Georgia. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How are you, Mike?
I've survived 5 days at IATEFL, so I think I would have looked better if we did this interview on Tuesday. But you know, I'm still here. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Mike, for the people watching us from home, who are you and what has been your ELT journey so far?
Oh, how long have we got? It's a long,
We
it's a
have
long
got time.
story. So, I'm the deputy director at NILE. So we're a teacher training institute based in Norwich. I started my career teaching refugees in Manchester, and then I spent 15 years in Italy. So I worked at International House, and then between Italy and NILE, I had 4 years at Macmillan. So I'm a lot older than I look, is what you're supposed
Don't
to say.
worry, we
next.
do not ask questions about age in this
Okay,
show.
good.
You're absolutely safe. So I insisted on interviewing you.
Oh.
Yes, and I will tell you why. Because your talk sounded very interesting. You combined two completely different worlds.
Mm,
So US politics
yeah.
and ELT.
Yes. Are they so different? Okay.
That's the very interesting point.
Yeah.
So first of all, for the people watching us from home, what is your topic about? What was your topic about?
So I was on the LAMSIC, so that's the Leadership and Management Special Interest Group Showcase Day. So the talk was designed for people working in academic management, and it was really to see what tips, what things we can learn from the American presidents that we can bring into our schools. So looking at management and leadership tips.
Excellent. Now, when you say we have got the elections coming up, yes, and do you follow the news and what's going on?
I try not to these days. No, I do, yeah.
So what lessons can we learn so that we can adapt it to our leadership style?
So in the talk, I looked at sort of 3 key areas. I should probably explain why I came up with this topic, because 30 odd years ago, I did a degree in American history, and normally then people say, why?
I did ask you that.
This is at the time when I chose that degree, everyone was saying why, and obviously then I realized after I got the degree that nobody wants anybody with a degree in American history. So I finally found the opportunity to use what I learned 30 years ago. But the topic, the talk was split into 3 areas. So I looked at what lessons as leaders we can learn from that process of becoming president, and then I looked at a very specific case study of how one president managed a crisis, and then I looked at the Watergate scandal and compared how the president managed that problem with how Catherine Graham, who was the publisher of the Washington Post, how she managed it. The conclusion is we'd all be better off if the American president was a woman, quite frankly. That's the conclusion. And for each of those, looking at other lessons that we can learn as academic managers.
Brilliant. And then in cases of crisis, what would you say is one of the most important skills that we as academic managers can have?
So the case study I looked at was how President Kennedy approached the Cuban Missile Crisis. Thankfully, as academic managers, we don't deal with crises that are that serious. But what I found really interesting was his approach to making decisions, and what perhaps we expect is the leader to jump in and say, right, analyze the situation, here's the solution, we should do this. And he took a very different approach. He got his best advisors together, put them in a room, and then he left the room. He wasn't in the room while the discussions took place. And he got his brother, Bobby Kennedy, to sit in the room and with every suggestion, every idea, to prod, to question assumptions, so that he then was given an overview of the best possible options and could then make a decision. I think it's a really interesting lesson. I think sometimes as leaders we think we have to solve the problem, but it's a great idea to say to your team, you guys have a look at this. I'm not going to be there. Let me know what you think. I think, if it's recruitment, if it's using a new course book, it's great to involve the fantastic teams.
This is a very interesting approach because it also gives some space to your team as well to express themselves and to also contribute to problem solving.
Yeah. And we've got great people. I mean, I'm here at IATEFL this morning. One of our trainers gave an amazing plenary, Rose. I would never do such a good job. So, we shouldn't underestimate how good the people in our team.
Brilliant. Now, usually we attribute skills like servant leadership to US presidents. So
some of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So how can we define servant leadership and how can we adapt it to our academic leadership standards?
Perhaps a really interesting case study here is Abraham Lincoln. And I used Abraham Lincoln to conclude my talk. There's a fantastic book about his leadership approach called The Team of Rivals. Really interesting. He brought, when he became president, he brought in a team of advisors, 6 or 7 of whom were his personal enemies. And they all arrived thinking, he's going to fail. We're going to be given the job of president. What actually happened was 4 years later, these guys were his biggest supporters, his closest friends. And it's really interesting to see how he managed to get those people from being enemies to friends. And I think it's a kind of servant leadership approach. It's all based on listening, on understanding, on collaborating. He's famous for a quotation where he says, do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends? So it's the opposite to that. Maybe some recent presidents have had a more authoritarian approach. I'm the boss, you do what I say. And I think working in education, hopefully we're more inclined to take on that servant leadership approach, that we're not here to boss people around, but we're here to support, to help people grow, and to sort of create an atmosphere of cooperation and collaboration.
So it's the classic, keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
Yes, and it's a good lesson in how to do that. Yeah.
Now, thinking about academic leaders, we usually talk about communication skills and how important these are. So what would you say are the common aspects of communication skills between academic leaders and US presidents?
Yeah, there's so many. One example I used in the talk was almost looking at the non-verbal communication skills. So there's a famous example from the 1960 election, which was between Kennedy and Nixon. And during that election, they had the first ever televised presidential debate. And it's really interesting. People who listened to the debate on the radio said Nixon had won the debate. Everyone who watched the debate on the television said Kennedy was the winner. And the difference was Kennedy was tanned, he looked fresh, he wore makeup, he had a great suit on. Nixon probably looked like I do after 5 days of IATEFL, but grey, and he didn't have I don't have my makeup. And Kennedy went on to win the election, and lots of people say that was a pivotal moment because people are looking for their leaders to have energy, to be positive. And I think it's a really important lesson for us. How do we get that positivity? How do we get that energy? Well, we've got to look after ourselves as leaders, which I think Kennedy did and Nixon didn't. So that's sort of non-verbal communication side. As a leader, you're on the stage, you're under the spotlight. And so there's that side. Then, of course, there is the how to communicate. I mean, I think we've seen recently some very poor examples of how, or we can learn how not to communicate from the presidents. But again, maybe go back to Lincoln. It's a lot about communication is as much about listening and understanding as it is about sending out emails and speaking to the team. Yeah.
And then there is the element of change. So how can academic leaders encourage change habits to their teams? Again, thinking of presidents and how they communicated change and how they brought change in the country.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was at the pre-conference event on Monday. So this was the leadership and management event, and change management was a key part of that. We had Savannah Richardson and Andy Hockley speaking with us. There are lots of lessons. I think one thing is change takes time. There are lots of models of change that we can adopt. There's Lewin's model, which is very famous, but it's all about taking the temperature before the change, explaining why we're making the change, getting people on board, embedding the change, and crucially, taking the temperature afterwards. How are people feeling about the change? If you can get ambassadors within your team to promote that change, but there's no quick and easy solution to it, and we can all take, I think, very long courses on change management. I think the presidents, some of them have managed it well, and some of them less well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I feel that I can talk to you about US presidents for hours, and we can always relate it back to ELT.
I think so. I'd like to think so. And I think that's why I wanted to maybe look outside the tent and see what's going on elsewhere. What lessons can we learn from other fields? So, I've used presidents, but I'm sure, even football managers or the business world, as academic managers, there's lots to learn about how they manage teams, how they communicate, how they deal with problems. So I think it is refreshing sometimes to look. There's all sorts of fantastic ELT material, courses, books on management, sometimes useful to look outside and see what's going on beyond our English language teaching world.
Brilliant. And so you mentioned the LAMSIG as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. What are some of the key topics that you found very interesting in the LAMSIG?
What was great on Monday in the pre-conference event, we really focused on, I think, two key issues that schools are facing. One is recruitment. The world has changed a lot since Brexit in the UK and since the pandemic. And so lots of institutions are facing challenges about where do we find good teachers? And it's crucially then, once we've got the good teachers, how do we retain them? So it was really thinking about, beyond the salary, beyond the conditions, what else can we offer teachers? And a lot of it is about giving people a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, all of those things we've spoken about, the good communication, making your school a place that people want to work in and want to stay in, and making sure it's inclusive and diverse. So we had a fantastic day with Andy and Silvana on Monday, just focused on those two key areas. And the great thing, I think, as well, as managers, sometimes we can feel a little lonely. So whereas in a school you might have 20, 30 teachers, there's usually only one or two managers. So spending a day chatting with other managers was really useful.
Absolutely. Now, for the people watching us from home and would like to be involved with the LAMSIG, what advice would you give them?
Oh, well, we very happy to bring on new members. Maybe have a look at our social media, have a look at the website, and if anyone wants to be, if you're an IATEFL member, want to join the special interest group, I think you'll find it very worthwhile if you're working in management. It's a great community of managers, and keep your eyes peeled. We may soon be looking for new committee members as well, so that will be going out soon.
I can't wait to hear more about it. Brilliant. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
And I will definitely contact you to continue the conversation about US leaders.
Okay, look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Welcome to Brighton, the vibrant seaside city ensconced along the southern coast of England. Prepare to embark on a journey of discovery as we uncover the fascinating and quirky facts that make Brighton truly unique. Ever heard of a city spared by the enemy due to its architecture? Well, that's exactly what happened to Brighton during World War II. It's alleged that Adolf Hitler himself ordered the Luftwaffe, German Air Force, not to bomb the city. His bizarre reason? He was completely enamoured by the unique design of the Royal Pavilion. Apparently, Hitler envisioned it as his personal seaside getaway after conquering Britain. Luckily for Brighton, his plans never came to fruition, leaving the city and its architectural gem relatively unscathed.
Hi, I'm Kumi at the IATEFL conference. What I've most enjoyed, all of it, although there was one talk in particular about building teams in Central Asia, which I really thought was really valuable to me personally. But just meeting everyone has been fab.
My favorite part of the IATEFL 2024 was the pre-conference workshop with the Literature and Young Learners SIG, featuring diverse voices and figuring out ways to include diversity in our classrooms.
Okay, it's Camila Helmi from Egypt, and I'm here to give a presentation. I really like this conference. It's my second time to be in Brighton for the conference. I also gave a presentation 4 years ago, and I learned a lot from the different sessions I have attended, and hopefully I'll be doing this every time.
My favorite bit has been Adrian Underhill's talk yesterday, and how he made pronunciation fun again.
Okay, I'm very happy to be here at the IATEFL, and I come here every year, past 10 years, but this year what I noticed is the focus on artificial intelligence, different topics, different angles, different perspectives. This was one chunk, and I also noticed a lot of talk on mental well-being and emotional and social learning and humanizing courses. So it goes both ways. So it made me feel that as a teacher, robots will not replace us.
I can't believe it.
I know.
Time's flown by.
Where did time go? What happened to this week?
Gone. But literally, it was
just like this.
Exactly.
I remember walking down here in the rain, and it was quite dreadful Monday morning. And
that was hard. Yeah, the elements.
It honestly was. There were like no trains, and it was rain.
It was raining.
It was quite horrible, and I was thinking, oh, this year's IATEFL, I don't know. And yet,
look at that. We made it. What was your favorite moment from the conference so far?
Oh, that is a hard one,
Georgia,
because
too many.
There's too many. Exactly. There's everything. It's I think we when it comes to IATEFL, we always talk about the sort of how nice it is to catch up and meet people, and I think more than any other conference, it is about that. But that makes you forget that we also talk about our profession, which we actually love, and
Yeah.
all the things that are going on.
Exactly.
And I don't know, I've spoken to so many inspiring people that was really, really humbling. That's I think more so than ever before, I felt that I'm actually quite a spoiled brat compared to the issues that we're talking about here, and I love that.
What about you, Nikki?
I mean, it's very similar. It's just seeing people I wasn't expecting to see, having the time to have a chat with them and properly catch up, as well as talk about work and everything that's been happening. And yeah, just the motivation and the inspiration and the energy. I think that's what I always take away from this conference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, energy. I know I'm saying that I'm exhausted, but it But also, yeah, no, it does. You do get energy and ready to go back to work and think, okay, I've seen this, I'm going to try this. And yeah, it's just.
The funniest thing I find about IATEFL is, like, as you say, the energy.
Yeah.
And we all love it. And yet everybody I talk to is exhausted.
exhausted, of
Even Neil
course.
before the show said, like, I have a bug. And we all have a bug. You don't want to know how many boxes of Lemsip Georgia had to get to us and how many we went through this week. It's like, we love it, but it's this weird sort of thing where we're sort of we love it, but at the same time it's
home. It's home.
Oh, Georgia, what's it been for you? What's been your highlight?
I'm going to say it out loud.
I know. I think I know what you're going to say. Go on.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to say that out loud because it's the last show for Sean. So working with Sean has been incredible, absolutely incredible. And I would just like to take the time to say thank you to Sean. And Sean, please don't cut this out of the video.
Yeah.
We know you're controlling everything, and we know how modest and shy you are. But Sean has got this unique ability to discover people, to give them the space and the platform to express their ideas and develop. This is what he has done with me. So thank you very much, Sean. And you're absolutely brilliant, and we will definitely miss you.
On a work level, but thank you, Sean, also because we always talk
But
about
as a
friends,
friend.
and everybody hears friends, and I think since Facebook the word friend has sort of lost its meaning, but I think of Sean as a genuine friend, and he is incredibly empathic, like crazy empathic. If I text him good morning, he knows from the intonation of my typing how well I'm feeling, and if something's up. It's like it's quite disturbing, really, but it's just, I'm really happy to have a friend like that and to have been able to work with you for the past 2 years. And yeah, thank you.
I mean, there's nothing really more that I can add. No, I'm not going. I just want to say thank you for feeding me this week, Sean, because without you, I wouldn't have found any of those restaurants. I'd have more money, I'd be thinner, but otherwise it's been fantastic. Thank you.
So, and the final thank you to everybody who's oh, sorry, I got a little bit.
She's getting emotional.
We're all
yeah, thank
crying
you,
now.
everybody. Just
So thank you very much, everybody. It has been great to bring you IATEFL live again from the conference, and see you next year.
Yeah,
See
don't
you.
forget that you can see the final plenary that's going to be broadcast this evening from 8. And otherwise, we'll see everybody next year in Edinburgh.
Edinburgh
or live.
2025.